In just a few minutes and purely via setting changes, you can make any PC significantly faster. So it would feel pretty natural that if you're flipping computers for a living or selling computers to someone, you would like to sell them a better product. So you may think, hey, I'm gonna undervolt or overclock the PC I'm currently selling and list it in the ad and just tell them that this PC is 20% faster due to what I've done to it. However, that very often ends up being a bad idea. And in this video, I'm going to tell you exactly why and what are the exceptions in which you may be able to pull this off and even get some extra money for it. So welcome back at ImWateringPSUs, and here we are with my Become a PC Builder / PC Flipper series. And today we are covering tuning, undervolting. This also applies to custom operating systems and low latency tweaks to make the PC run better. All of those go into the same category, and unfortunately, my advice for you is just sell the PC at stock for 99% of use cases. Allow me to explain. When I first started selling computers, and if you go way back on my Instagram, I still have my first few builds, I was pushing really heavily on the overclocking side. I was selling a lot of x58 system with older Xeons, which I overclocked for about 50% more performance. So it was a significant difference. And I was able to sell those, but I was encountering a little bit of issues even with those, but it was fine. However, as I moved into more mainstream components, selling i7s, i5s, and Ryzen CPUs, what happens is I noticed that every time I listed my ad explaining what I've done to the computer and just how much it was faster, I was getting less interest. And even when I was getting interest, I was getting people asking me, is this safe for the computer? Aren't you damaging the computer? And keep in mind, the people writing you are only the people that actually have enough interest to voice their concerns. That means that a lot of people are just not writing you altogether because they assume that an overclocked computer has less life left or is just worst kept. Kind of like if you're buying a car and you find a tuned car with a modified engine. There are a lot of similarities between the PC building industry and the car flipping industry. And what I find is, even myself generally, I like to buy a stock car and then maybe tune it myself. Same goes for computers. Even though you are for sure going to be a lot better at tweaking than the guy who's buying the PC from you, they probably want to do it themselves, often with pretty bad results, but they prefer to do it themselves. So you should list your PC at stock unless you are very known and recognized in the area and you're doing recurring business. What I do nowadays, even though today, as you guys probably know if you've been watching this series, PC flipping is just a small part of what I do. I still get people that ask me to tune their computers and I charge them extra for it. So I charge them extra, I overclock the RAM, undervolt their system, test it all out, make sure it's 100% stable, save the profiles, and also give them the actual numbers I've tweaked their PCs at in writing so they can also restore it if they end up losing it or updating the BIOS. That's a pretty easy upsell. You can charge all the way up to an extra $100 for doing that on the whole system with a custom OS, and it's literally 100% margin in terms of profit because it's just your work that's getting paid. You don't have to buy and sell anything. It's pretty good stuff. A lot of time, often, also people come back after they try to overclock their system, their PC crashes, they corrupt their Windows, I fix their Windows and I tell them, hey, do you want me to overclock it for you? And then it's an easy upsell. So it's pretty good. But if you're just putting a random ad online on Facebook Marketplace or wherever you're selling your computer, people are not going to trust you. If you have a shop, if you are a reputable seller with quite a bit of word of mouth in your favor, then even there I would offer it as an extra. So this way you don't tell them the PC is already overclocked. You tell them you can overclock it for them. And in that case, it's okay. Now, something more interesting is actually discussing how safe it is, because if you're doing good old proper overclocking where you raise the voltage, unlock the power limit, you are indeed taking off life of your components. Let's not circle around it. However, if you're doing undervolting, depending on how you do it, this is almost 100% safe. Even speaking strictly about RAM, if you do end up raising a few system agents voltages, you are technically degrading the controller somewhere as well. So I like to be honest with my clients and I just tell them, listen, if I'm doing a Windows optimization, like a timer resolution to reduce the delay, if I am overclocking your controller, that's 100% safe. If I'm putting a custom OS, 100% safe. But if I'm actually doing proper overclocking or even an undervolting where we then overclock the memory, then we are reducing the lifespan of your components, even if it is by a statistically irrelevant percentage. But still, it's nice to tell them, you have to tell them, you're a professional. So you want to tell them, and this way you also explain to them that, hey, we are reducing the life of the components by very little. Are you okay with it? And also make sure you have good components around them. If you follow this channel, I focus a lot on undervolting and overclocking. You can overclock and undervolt even on the worst hardware possible. But if you have a better power supply, better cooling, for overclocking especially, it's just going to be better and it's going to be safer, especially if you have a very good power supply that's going to give you better filtered voltage. So with that said, my final recommendation, again recapped, is definitely do the upsell, telling them that you can and will overclock, undervolt their systems, put a custom OS in it, but just don't do it off the get-go, because some people just don't want it, and even the people that want it, they have to trust you, and sometimes they just want to give it a shot themselves before actually delegating the work, and that's completely fine. It's also why I make tutorials for people. However, if you have a different opinion on it, or if you think I may be missing something, as usual, please drop a comment and let me know. I want this to become a little community for PC flippers, and as usual, I thank you guys a lot for watching. If you watched this far, maybe drop a like and subscribe. You can also now become a member and really support the channel, and see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.